Welcome to the deep dive. We take your curiosity, add a stack of sources, and today, well, we're diving deep into a really fascinating ancient narrative. It's the journey of the biblical patriarch Isaac. You sent us this text, and it's packed with themes, divine promises, sure, but also very human weaknesses, conflicts over resources, and some surprisingly sharp diplomacy. So, our mission today, let's unpack this rich story. We'll pull out the key moments and ask, what can this teach us about leadership, especially in tough times, about conflict resolution, and maybe about the enduring human experience itself?
Absolutely. Isaac's story is just, well, it's full of these contrasts, isn't it? You've got these incredible blessings side by side with some profound challenges. Some challenges he kind of brings on himself. Others are just part of the environment he's in. What's really striking, I think, is how his story touches on these timeless issues: prosperity, fear, finding peace. We'll try to connect those dots, not just look at what happened, but maybe understand why it still feels so relevant.
Okay, so let's jump in. The story kicks off with Isaac facing a really bad famine, a tough one. And it echoes the kind of challenge his father Abraham faced before him. So naturally, Isaac starts thinking about heading down to Egypt, the ancient world's, breadbasket, when things got rough. But right then, at this moment of uncertainty, there's a pivotal event. The Lord appears to him.
Right. And gives him very specific instruction.
Exactly. He's told very clearly, do not go down to Egypt, live in the land where I tell you to live, stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. It feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? Instinct says run towards the food, but the command is to stay put. And with that command comes this huge reaffirmation of the promise made to Abraham land, descendants like the stars, universal blessing. The text even spells out why, because Abraham obeyed me. It links Isaac's blessing directly to his father's faithfulness. And Isaac, well, Genesis just says, so Isaac stinking Gerar. Simple as that.
And that command, do not go to Egypt, it's really loaded with meaning, I think. In these narratives, Egypt often represents a place of security, yes, but also potential trouble, maybe spiritual compromise. So by telling him to stay in Gerar, in the Promised Land, even during a famine, it's emphasizing that God's provision is found in obedience, in trusting the path laid out, not necessarily in running to the, let's say, obvious solution.
It's a test of faith, then.
Definitely a test of faith, but it also reinforces that his identity, his prosperity, it's all tied to this land, the promised one. And it connects directly back to Abraham's obedience, showing that faithfulness has ripple effects across generations. Isaac benefits directly.
Okay, so he stays. But then, well, here's where it gets complicated and maybe a bit familiar if you know Abraham's story. Despite these huge promises, this direct divine command he just obeyed, Isaac encounters a situation with his wife, Rebecca, and he repeats a mistake. It shows a real human vulnerability.
It really does.
The local men in Gerar ask about Rebecca, who is described as beautiful, and Isaac says,
She is my sister.
exactly, just like his father did. And the text tells us why. Because he was afraid. The men of this place might kill me on account of Rebecca.
So fear overrides the promise.
It seems so, primal fear kicking in. But, the truth eventually surfaces. Abimelech, the king there, sees Isaac from a window caressing his wife, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Not exactly sibling behavior.
No, not quite.
So Abimelech calls him out. And his concern isn't just, you lied to me, it's deeper. He says, one of the men might well have slept with your wife and you would have brought guilt upon us. He's worried about the communal consequence.
Which is fascinating in itself.
Right. And then Abimelech does something remarkable. He issues a decree. Anyone who harms this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. He protects them.
It's such a powerful moment. It really underscores that even someone operating under God's blessing who just received direct guidance can still fall back on fear. It's deeply human. And this fear doesn't just put Isaac at risk. It potentially endangers the whole community, as Abimelech points out.
And Abimelech's reaction.
It's amazing, isn't it? Here's a non-Israelite king acting with, frankly, incredible wisdom and a strong sense of justice. He sees the potential for moral chaos and acts decisively to prevent it. He becomes, in a way, the unlikely protector ensuring Isaac's safety, even when Isaac's own fear led him astray. It really makes you think about where our fears might lead us, even when we feel blessed or guided.
It's a huge paradox, because right after this deception, or maybe despite it, Isaac experiences this incredible, almost unbelievable success.
Yeah, the pendulum swings hard the other way.
But that success itself creates a whole new set of problems. Problems rooted in wealth, resources, and, well, envy.
The age-old story.
The text says Isaac plants crops and reaps 100-fold in that same year. 100 times the seed. because the Lord blessed him.
I mean, 100-fold. That's just staggering. It's beyond a good harvest. It's clearly supernatural favor.
And the result, he had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. You can just feel the tension ratchet up.
Absolutely. Prosperity on that scale, it changes things.
And the Philistines' reaction isn't admiration. It's hostile. They start stopping up the wells that Abraham's servants had dug years before, filling them with earth.
Which is essentially economic sabotage in that arid region. Water was everything.
Exactly. It's cutting off his lifeline. And then Abimelech, the same king who protected him, comes back and says, "Move away from us. You have become too powerful for us."
It's a classic dynamic. That 100-fold blessing, that visible sign of divine favor, it completely shifts the power balance in Gerar.
Too much success.
It seems so. When blessing becomes overwhelming power, especially tied to vital resources like water, it often breeds resentment, not just admiration. People feel threatened. It's not just jealousy. It's a perceived threat to their own survival and status. It reminds me of, modern market disruptions. A successful newcomer can destabilize everything.
So even blessings can cause conflict.
Especially when resources are scarce. It highlights how quickly relationships can sour when power dynamics shift and essential resources become points of contention.
So Isaac is forced out. But here's another fascinating turn. Instead of fighting for the wells he's established or arguing with Abimelech, he does something different. He engages in this pattern of, peaceful retreat and strategic reestablishment. It's a really interesting approach to conflict resolution.
It really is. It's not passive surrender.
No, he moves to the Valley of Gerar. First thing he does. Reopens his father Abraham's wells. He even gives them their original names, which feels significant, like reclaiming a legacy.
Connecting back to the source of the promise.
But the conflict follows him. His servants dig a new well, and immediately the local herders quarrel, saying, "The water is ours." So Isaac, instead of digging in for a fight, names the well Esek, which means dispute, and he moves on again.
Acknowledges the conflict, but refuses to get bogged down in it.
Then they dig another well. Same story. They quarreled over that one also, so Isaac names that one Sitna, opposition, and moves again.
He's literally naming the problem while walking away from it.
Until finally, he moves far enough away, digs a third well, and this time, no one quarreled over it. And you can feel the relief when he names it Rehoboth, saying, "Now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land." From dispute and opposition to room, space.
That whole sequence is just brilliant. It shows Isaac's pragmatic wisdom. It's not weakness, it's strategic disengagement. He consistently prioritizes peace and space over these endless, potentially violent fights for contested resources.
He chooses his battles, or rather, chooses not to battle.
Exactly. In a world, then and now, that often rewards aggression, Isaac provides this alternative model, resilience through strategic patience. He seems to understand that sometimes the best way to find peace isn't to win the argument in the conflicted space, but to create a new space.
And the names really chart that journey beautifully. Esek, Sitna, Rehoboth, conflict to flourishing.
It really does. It shows that flourishing sometimes requires the wisdom to move on and build anew.
Okay, so the journey continues. Isaac heads to Beersheba. And there, he gets another powerful divine reassurance. But then, guess who shows up for a visit?
Abimelech again.
The very king who told him to leave. It's quite a turnaround.
It certainly suggests something significant has shifted.
So Isaac gets to Beersheba. That same night, the Lord appears, reiterating the promise. "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you." Blessing descendants, all for Abraham's sake. This seems to settle Isaac. He builds an altar there, calls on God, sets up his camp. His servants, naturally, start digging another well.
Back to the wells. Always the wells.
And then this delegation arrives. Abimelech, his advisor Ahuzath, and Phicol, his army commander. Quite the entourage.
They mean business, or at least they want to talk seriously.
And Isaac, quite rightly, asks them point blank, "Why have you come to me, since you were hostile to me and sent me away?" He doesn't just brush it under the rug.
No, he calls it like it is.
Abimelech's answer is incredibly revealing. He says, "We saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said, there ought to be a sworn agreement between us. Let us make a treaty with you that you will do us no harm, just as we did not harm you. And now you are blessed by the Lord."
Wow. So it's an open acknowledgement of Isaac's divine backing.
Completely. It's gone from "you're too powerful, get out" to "we see God is with you, let's make a peace treaty."
That is a remarkable shift. It speaks volumes about the undeniable nature of Isaac's success and perhaps Abimelech's political pragmatism.
Right. It's smart diplomacy. Recognize power, even divine power, and seek peace with it.
It's not just about avoiding conflict anymore. It's about aligning themselves, or at least securing non-aggression, with someone clearly favored. Their reasoning, "We saw clearly the Lord was with you," is both a religious statement and a sharp political calculation.
So Isaac makes a feast, they swear an oath, make a covenant, and Abimelech's group leaves peacefully.
From expulsion to alliance.
And right then, that very day, Isaac's servants strike water in the well they were digging. They call it Sheba, related to the word for oath, which is how the place gets its name. Beersheba, well of the oath.
It's perfect timing. The discovery of water, right after the oath is sworn, solidifies the whole event. It anchors the peace treaty to a tangible source of life and blessing. It shows the promise being fulfilled right there, at the moment of reconciliation.
It beautifully ties together the themes of divine blessing, human diplomacy, and essential resources.
A powerful conclusion to that chapter of conflict and resolution.
But the story, this particular section in Genesis, doesn't quite end there. It concludes with a brief, almost jarring note about the next generation, about Isaac's son Esau.
Ah, yes, a little foreshadowing.
Just 2 verses. It says Esau, when he was 40, married 2 Hittite women, Judith and Basemath.
Okay, seems straightforward enough.
But the very next line adds this crucial detail. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah.
Oof. So, not happy unions from the parents' perspective.
Apparently not. It's short, but it hangs there, hinting at future troubles.
And what's fascinating is how this small family detail comes right after these major events. The divine encounters, the prosperity, the conflicts, the treaty. It reminds us that life isn't just about the big external events. Even amidst national blessings and diplomatic successes, personal family dynamics, cultural clashes, internal struggles continue. Esau's choice of wives, clearly against his parents' hopes or expectations, plants the seeds for future conflict within the family itself.
It sets the stage for the sibling rivalry and deception that we know is coming later in Genesis.
Exactly. It's a stark reminder that even the most blessed families aren't immune to these deeply personal challenges. And these choices have consequences that ripple outwards. It brings the focus back to the intimate human level after the grander narrative sweep.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together. We've journeyed with Isaac from his initial fear, that moment of deception that felt so much like his father's,
Right, that repeating pattern.
to this incredible, almost problematic prosperity, the conflicts over the wells, and finally, this surprising peace treaty with Abimelech. It's quite a roller coaster.
It really is. And through it all, you see the constant interplay of divine promises and very real human responses. Fear, envy, but also obedience, resilience, eventually diplomacy.
The environmental pressures, too, like the famine and the absolute necessity of water, they drive so much of the action.
Absolutely. Resource scarcity is a huge factor. Isaac's story really drives home that even when you're operating under immense blessing, challenges like scarce resources, other people's envy, and your own internal fears, they don't just disappear, they're part of the landscape.
But his response, particularly with the wells, that willingness to seek peace by moving, by reestablishing, rather than fighting every battle.
Yes, that strategic retreat and resilience. And then later, engaging in diplomacy from that recognized position of strength and blessing. It offers a really powerful, maybe even counterintuitive model for dealing with complex situations. It's not about always winning the fight. Sometimes it's about finding the space to flourish.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, listening now, as you reflect on Isaac's journey, his fear, his prosperity, those conflicts over something as basic as water, and the eventual peace he found? Where do you see these ancient patterns today?
Yeah, where do these dynamics play out? Maybe in personal relationships. Think about misunderstandings, envy, times when maybe stepping back is wiser than confrontation.
Or in communities dealing with limited resources, housing, jobs, even clean water, forcing difficult choices and needing cooperation.
Or even on the global stage. Nations competing for resources, navigating tricky diplomatic waters, sometimes needing to shift from hostility to unexpected alliances.
Where do we still wrestle with that mix of blessings, resource conflicts, fear, envy, and that ongoing quest for real, lasting peace? It's something to think about.
Definitely something to mull over till our next deep dive.